All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. The first episode of our broadcast week, and it's great to be back here with another week of final wording. That's right. You've landed at your final destination of your sports night, and we're back. Kind of took a break. We did not air on Thursday because of the post-game obligations that I had, and Thursday ended up being a hell of a day as part of what this show really is about. Busy weekend here in the local Philadelphia sports world. We got your hockey team in the news by firing their head coach, and then rattling off two very impressive wins in a row, which could come at the worst possible time. And then you have your baseball team getting off to an auspicious start. I mean, they took 2 out of 3 for the Nationals, got the season rolling. But, of course, now it's for real, and now it counts. And now we're going to start criticizing because that's what we do. And there's a plenty to criticize about the Phillies. Yes, only 3 games into the season, but we're going to dwell into them as well. Your Villanova Wildcats have a new head coach, which I don't think we're going to spend much time talking about. But welcome the next contestant in the Can You Replace Jay Wright sweepstakes. So Villanova's on their way, hopefully, to maybe returning. But I don't know, with the transfer portal, does a school like Villanova even stand a chance anymore in the national spotlight of Division I college basketball? And that's a question that maybe is for another night, but Nova has a new coach. But the 2 main stories tonight we're going to focus in on are your hockey team, or is your hockey team, and, of course, your Fighting Phillies, as baseball is underway. The 2025 regular season is in full giddy-up mode around all major leagues. We're also going to do the other night segment and the card review. Am I missing something? Oh, yeah. And your day in Philadelphia sports history. All those great and wonderful things here on the network and on this program. But before I get started, I got a programming note. I will be here tonight. I will not be here tomorrow night because I got double post-game duty again tomorrow. So no Final Word tomorrow night. We will be back on Tuesday, Wednesday, and I believe Thursday. So I think we're going to do 4 out of the 5 this week as, other obligations are pulling me in 2 different directions, 3 different directions at times. But we're going to keep trying to pump out this stuff as we go. And this network, as you might have seen over the course of the last few days, has begun to grow. We've added some shows. We've added actually 3 shows within the last 10 days. And we'll talk about those shows as we move through this show. So great stuff here on the network. Great stuff to talk about. Great stuff to get into. So let's not waste any more time now, shall we? Let's get into your day in Philadelphia sports history. So let's buckle in, buckle up, strap in, strap up. Put your hands and feet, or keep your hands and feet inside the car at all times, and let's roll. Your day in Philadelphia sports history in 2009. In its 4th year of existence, the Phillies celebrated their Paint the Red Town Week, the first time as defending world champions, to commemorate the community service efforts of 9 local champions. The Celebrating a City of Champions press conference featured tie-dyed red Philly fanatic Mayor Michael Nutter, Phillies broadcasters Tom McCarthy and Gary Matthews, recognizing local community service efforts. And that's it. That's your day. I don't know why that's noteworthy or why that's history worthy, but that is your day in Philadelphia sports history. I don't even remember the commemorate Paint the Town Red week. I don't even know what the hell that is. It must have flown right under my radar in the time that they did it. And I don't, do they do it anymore? Must be a real light night in Philadelphia sports history if they throw that thing in there. But there you go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history when the Phillies celebrated their 9th annual Paint the Town Red week, first time as world champions. So I guess it's history worthy. I don't know, depending on who you are. Oh, man. Joe Hale says, yo, how are you tonight? Joe, I'm doing great. How are you? Welcome back to another episode of the program. And Joe, I'm sure, Joe, you're going to chime in a lot tonight because we got a lot of controversial stuff to uncover tonight. Yeah, we're gonna play detectives, actually. We're going to play detectives on our first segment of the night. All right, let's get to it. On Thursday, the Flyers decided to part ways with their head coach, John Tortorella. Now, and I want to thank Frankie James again for coming on the emergency pod that we did on Thursday. Was it Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday. Thursday morning, we did an emergency podcast to kind of talk about the firing of John Tortorella. He came on for about a good half hour just to kind of get initial reactions and kind of find out why, talk about those things. But as time has kind of settled in now, and we've had more time, and I've had more time to reflect upon all this, I want to unearth a new theory, I guess, on why John Tortorella was fired. Maybe it's not a new theory, but I want to give you my theory. So Tortorella made the comments on Tuesday night, and I paraphrase that I am not interested in coaching a situation like this. I am not interested in being here, basically. Now, I honestly thought, and I remember commenting on the time, and we did a show, I think it was Wednesday night, and we actually led in with that little press nugget. And I remember saying that management cannot let that go. That's just not going to happen. I mean, you can't outwardly call out everything the team is trying to do and say, I'm just not interested in doing this anymore. Not only is that a slap in the face of management, but more importantly, it's a slap in the face of the team that's in that locker room and what you've been doing to them for the last 3 years and how you've been coaching them and your style of coaching. And I really thought there was going to be some repercussions of that statement. Now, I did not expect a firing with 9 games left to go in the season. I expected maybe a verbal reprimand, a behind-the-door fine, something like that. Now, as far as what would happen to John Tortorella after the season, I thought after those comments were made, I honestly remember thinking to myself, there's no way they can continue on with him. They're going to have to make a change. Now, since the comments were made and then the decision right after that was made to fire him, obviously those comments went a little deeper than I thought that they initially were. Now, Danny B went and had his own little press conference explaining somewhat of what the situation was, and he cited a couple things. One being that the relationship between coach and GM, president, management, what have you, began to get really strained around the trade deadline. So 1 and 1 plus 2 equals 3 divided by 6. I developed my own theory here. And this theory doesn't necessarily start and end at this trade deadline. I think it starts last year at the trade deadline. John Tortorella knew what he was getting into when he came here. He came here under Chuck Fletcher. He came here under the guise of, I'm sure Fletcher, and again, I don't know, and I can only imagine that the conversation that bring him here initially was, we got some talent, we got to add some pieces, but we're in I'm prepared, and I'm talking as Chuck Fletcher, to give you those pieces and retool this organization and make a run. So I don't think John Tortorella came here thinking it was going to be a full-blown rebuild, and I don't think that's why he was brought here. Now, when he got here and he saw the shambles of the organization, and I don't just mean the hockey team, but I mean the off-the-ice issues as well. Obviously, it probably, kind of changed his opinion about some things, but he was still on board, and it probably altered, though, his coaching style. A full-blown rebuild ushered in by the new GM, Danny B, altered what his coaching style was going to be now. Now, a lot of people are going to tell you that they don't think John Tortorella is that type of coach. A rebuild coach is not him. He is the guy that gets you above the hump, that takes you on the ride to the Stanley Cup. I'm not saying that those people are wrong, but I definitely can see a John Tortorella type coach being the right guy for what the Flyers needed for him to do, because it wasn't just the play on the ice. It was the culture in the locker room. It was the culture upstairs. It was just everything that was wrong about the Flyer organization. And I thought he did a hell of a job laying down some foundation, some framework, and imparting some information onto these players that are going to help this team in the long run. I'm going to equate it a little bit to what Ed Wade did for the Phillies by not trading away those minor league pieces that would go on and win us world championship. So I'm going to kind of give John Tortorella that prop. And then when, of course, the information was that, yeah, we're in a full-blown rebuild, then okay, let's coach it like baseline type stuff, and let's go that direction. Now, fast forward to last season, trade deadline. Sean Walker gets sent to the Colorado Avalanche. All right. Now, Sean Walker was apparently the glue that was holding on the defense together. Now, I'm not going to blame the trade of Sean Walker for why the Flyers fell out of playoff contention last season. It was also involving massive injuries that kind of hit the defensive core all at the same time, and then the decreased play of Sam Ersson in the net. All those things kind of led to the Flyers falling out of playoff contention, but still being in contention up to game 82 last year, if you recall. So I honestly believe that Tortorella probably had problems with the Sean Walker trade last year. I think he probably did, because yes, a first-round draft pick is nice to get in return, but let's face it, it's a first-round pick from the Colorado friggin' Avalanche. Where are you taking that first-round pick? That first-round pick is going to be at the bottom part of the round. And I'm not saying that he wasn't on board for accumulating assets to help this team in the future, but maybe he started to feel like no matter what I was doing, because those kids, those players busted their ass to get in the position they were in, 6th overall in the East. And then what does management do? They pluck away one of the inside the locker room leaders and one of the leaders on the ice, and they trade him away for a draft pick. I can kind of see why Tortorella might get a little bent out of shape about that. The Flyers had a chance, and he had a chance to give these players some playoff experience last year, and that was taken away from him. But okay, let's move on. This season. Now, the Morgan Frost, Joel Farabee trade, I think he was on board with that because I think those were two players that he was pretty much done with himself. But I don't think he liked the return. Jacob Peltier, when he came here, was essentially, Tortorella said it. I see this kid as a fringe player, as between the NHL and the AHL. I don't want to play him because I don't think he's that good. So that caused problems with Danny B as well. I just went out and traded 2 players, and I brought you this guy. I want you to play because we obviously have high expectations on. We like this kid. We wouldn't have traded for him. We want you to play him. Tortorella wouldn't. I think that was a problem. And that began a rift or continued to divide management and the coach. And then Scott Laughton trade at the trade deadline, which I honestly think that was probably the backbreaker. I don't think Tortorella wanted to trade Scott Laughton. I honestly think that he wanted to hold on to Laughton for whatever reason. It was probably because of the leadership, the veteran leadership. I think he wanted to hold on to Scott Laughton, maybe a personal relationship as well. And I think when they traded him, I think that really pissed Tortorella off. And then obviously we're left with bare bones. Boom, boom, boom. And here we go. I'm not interested in doing this anymore. So I can see honestly where the coach might have started getting frustrated. Yes, it's all about a rebuild and getting better for the future. But when you have an opportunity and you're making progress, and that progress is stripped away from you by management in the hopes of being better 3 to 5 years from now, I could see where that gets a little frustrating after a while. I'm not saying Tortorella was right. I'm just saying I think I can see where the problems began with management. Now, as far as the players on the team, obviously with their renewed sense of, hope, optimism, they come out, play like crazy of the first 2 games under Bradshaw, win those games. You got Mitchkov running wild out there. You got Jacob Peltier scoring goals. You got Cam York, who's going to get back in the lineup tomorrow night as they're serving a little bit of a internal suspension for some sort of incident that occurred on Tuesday in Toronto between the head coach, John Tortorella, which might have also led to Tortorella's firing as well, depending on what that incident was. You got certain players on this team that are probably extremely happy that Tortorella is gone. I'm not going to say they're wrong either, because we've said this since day one. One of the things we always talk about when we talk about John Tortorella is you always put that he has a shelf life at the end of the sentence. So firing the man with 9 games left to go in the season was a statement more than anything else from Danny B. It was a statement to the team. It was a statement to the rest of the management group. And maybe it was even a statement to the fans that obviously there's a problem here between me and him. We can't resolve it. It's gotten deeper. It's gotten wider. The players, he said he wasn't going to involve the players. He said, it's a tight room, but I'm not going to comment on anything that the players might have said or might not have said, which is the right thing to do. But all those factors were working against John Tortorella. Now, I don't think that makes John Tortorella a bad coach. I think it makes him a really good coach, because I think, honestly, what he's done will last for years and years and years and will help some of these players become better players in the long run. But yeah, I was not in favor of firing him. I thought there was still more work he could do. But of course, I'm not inside that locker room. I'm not inside the boardroom. I don't know what's going on with those. So, but now all this stuff is sort of kind of coming to the surface that there was a lot of disagreement between him and Danny about how this team was being, I think run. And then there was problems inside the locker room. The players had revolted. It was almost like John Tortorella was a man on an island by himself at the very end. And it was just marking time till they got to the end of the season, which obviously Danny B couldn't wait for 9 more games, and he had to make that move. So Tortorella's out. Bradshaw is in as your new coach. Why do the Flyers sign young prospects that I never heard of? And we're going to get to that. It's always about trying to get better, Joe. Apparently, what I heard is that they were pushing and shoving between. But yeah, and that's the incident that I'm referring to on Tuesday night. Apparently, by both admissions, that they both crossed the line. And Cam York wasn't his favorite player. But listen, when it comes to Tortorella, and it comes to specifically Morgan Frost and Cam York, because I think those are the 2 players that, if you think back on the time that John Tortorella was here, those were the 2 players that were constantly in the man's crosshairs. You could probably put Sean Couturier in that list. You could also put Sean Couturier, maybe Joel Farabee to a lesser extent. But when you look back on it, it's Morgan Frost and Cam York. They were the 2 most lightning rod players with John Tortorella in his time here. Listen, Tortorella was coaching a young team of young pros, and he was trying to teach them what it was like to be a pro. He had a system. He wanted this team to do things certain ways. Now, am I saying it's the right way? I'm not. I want to preference all this by saying I'm not saying that this was right. I'm just saying this was his way. And when you didn't perform up to his standard, he had no problems sitting you. He had no problems yanking you out of the lineup. He had no problems of dressing you up, dressing you down. He had no problems doing that. Now, is this lost on this generation? And there might be some generational issues here too, because I know 25 years ago, if you got dressed up and down by the coach as a player, you took it. Or you'd give it right back to the coach because that's what he wanted you to do. This is not then. This is a new generation, soft, weak, whatever you want to call them, different, whatever. Sometimes you can't get to a player like that. And obviously, for those 2 guys who were his favorite whipping boys, Morgan Frost got traded, obviously, but Cam York is now liberated, I guess. And but that doesn't change the situation with Cam York. His performance on the ice has been real bad this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cam York had a new address as well for next season. Flyers might try to move him, but yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm just saying it's the situation between coach and player, and frustration, man. Losing sucks. And when you're playing in any professional sport, I believe I said this the other night, you're an alpha male by design. And you're also the 1% of the 1%. So those are 2 lethal toxin combinations in your body, and frustration and losing after a while begins to build, and you begin to kind of get frustrated. So, and it was probably felt by everybody, coach and player alike. No one wants to lose. I believe John Tortorella was a scapegoat. Joe, I'm not going to say I think he was a scapegoat, but I do believe it was a big balls Danny B move. I think Danny, who, don't forget, Tortorella was not a Danny B hire. He inherited him, but they had a relationship as player and coach growing up. Danny played for him at one point in his career. And I thought maybe they sat back down and, redirected Tortorella, said, this is what's going to happen now. And this is what I need you to be. And I know firsthand, Danny B knows he can be that way because he dealt with it. But then Danny B also knew that the shelf life thing was there. But I don't think it's a scapegoat. I think it's a move that Danny B had to make to save face, not to be a scapegoat, but to save face, because he was outwardly challenged by the head coach in those statements that he made on Tuesday night. That was a direct slap in Danny Breer's face when he said, I'm not interested in doing this and coaching like this. So, and then with the other things, because Danny B said in the press conference, there was other things that were involved too, and that was just one of the things. You had no other choice, man. And I don't think he would have been the head coach going forward. But Danny B had to send a statement. He had to send a statement to the league. He had to send a statement to his team. He had to send a statement to the city. He had to send statements to everybody that he's not going to sit back and get talked to like that by a coach. Torch is somewhere sitting back and thinking he didn't have to deal with that mess called the Flyers. Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure there's a lot of, but again, Mike, I don't know about that, man. I'm sure he's not shedding a tear that he doesn't have to deal with the day-to-day mess. But again, I go back to the alpha male 1% of the 1%. Tortorella failed in his mission, right? So he's probably taking that a little personally as well, because nobody wants to fail. Nobody wants to lose. So I guarantee you he didn't want to walk away as a loser or a failure. And that's kind of how he's viewed right now, which I think is unfair. And again, I think it goes along lines with, he understood you had to build for the future, but to kind of consistently pull the pieces away from him that he finally got working in the right direction, to take a Sean Walker away from him, to take a Scott Lawton away from him, when there's, in his mind, we could win with these guys, and what you're going to get in trade is probably not going to be that much anyway. So just leave them here. Let us get some experience making a playoff run, and we go from there. But now you're going to pull these guys away from me mid-season and then leave me with nothing, and it begins to wear on a person, man. He's only human. Let's start wearing me out. Luchenko can play. My buddy works for the Phantoms. Yeah, Jet Luchenko and Alex Chernik are now part of the Philadelphia, or Lehigh, must call them the Philadelphia Phantoms, but the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. They are in town, and that's good. And we're going to get to the other signing that Joe is alluding to here in a second, and we're going to talk about that. So the Flyers are making moves as we come down the stretch, but we're also going to discuss a little bit about Bradshaw. Cam York is a restricted free agent. There's a difference, Joe. There's a difference between restricted free agents in hockey and UFAs. So in a nutshell, I'm not going to sit here and go over the whole process, but at RFA in hockey. So if I was drafted, or I signed my first contract as a hockey pro, that's my entry-level contract, ELC, right? It's a 3-year deal, standard. Everyone gets a 3-year deal. After those first 3 years, I become an RFA. Now, an RFA essentially is this. It's basically the team that owns you. They're completely in the driver's seat. So they have till July 1st, the Flyers do, to offer Cam York a qualifying offer to sign another contract. Cam York has 15 days from that time to accept the offer. Now, he can say, no, I don't want to sign it. And then he has to wait till December 1st to become an unrestricted free agent. Then if he signs with the team after that, he can't play that season with that team. He has to wait till next year in order to start playing. Or it can go like this. Come July 1st, the Flyers offer him a deal. He gets another offer from another team, and the Flyers have first rights to match that offer. If the Flyers match that offer, then negotiation over, he has to sign a contract with the Flyers. If the Flyers decide, you know what? Nah, we're not going to match that offer. You can have them. But then that team owes the Flyers, and I don't know what it is. It changes every year, and I think York was a first-round pick. If he's a first-round pick, then that team owes the Flyers its next 5 years' worth of first-round draft picks, which is very rare that ever happens, unless we're dealing with a Connor McDavid, a Sidney Crosby, unless you're dealing with a player on that line. So no team is going to pay that price for a Cam York. So, yes, or the Flyers can say, you know what? We're not going to offer you another contract. And then on July 1st, if that offer doesn't come, he becomes a UFA. So it's a little different. There's a definite difference between RFA and UFA in hockey. And as far as RFA status goes, Cam York has 3 years of RFA life before he hits UFA. Now, or not 3 years, I'm sorry, 3 separate contracts as an RFA, each of them 3 years apiece before he hits the open market. Now, the Flyers at any time can sign him long-term, which would nullify all the RFA eligibility. But so RFA really, to me, is just a formality. He's really under team control, almost kind of like in baseball. Now, again, if he doesn't, the Flyers don't offer him a deal, kind of like we did to Carter Hart this summer. He was an RFA, and the Flyers didn't offer him a contract. Boom, he became a UFA. So the ball is completely in the Flyers' court when it comes to what they're going to want to do with Cam York in the summer. Completely in their hands, and we'll have to wait and see. I'm sounding old, but most athletes today don't have a set. They all have it. Yes and no. I'm not gonna. That's an interesting question, Michael. I think they have a set. It's just different than it was when we were growing up, and playing time was coveted. But like growing up in sports for me, you earned your time, your playing time in games. You earned them through practice. If you didn't give it all in practice, if you didn't show up to practice, if you didn't do those things that you're supposed to do in practice, then the revenge was taken out against you in the game, and you didn't play. You lost time in the game. And yes, there was sometimes quick hooks for players that wouldn't listen. Again, I'm not saying that Tortorella's way was the right way. It was a way, and it worked until these players start realizing that, come on, man, I'm busting my ass for this madman. Where's it getting me? We're 3 years into this thing now. It doesn't seem to be ending. I've had enough. The hell with this rope test crap. I don't want to do this anymore. God, when's my time? It's frustration. And then coupled on top of that frustration is there's no results to see on the ice. The team has regressed in a lot of ways this year. And that's even doubly frustrating for the players and the coach, man. So you're right in a way, Michael. You are. If Torts fail, what did management do to help him? That's my point. I agree with you. Management did nothing to help him, but it doesn't matter. He's an alpha male hockey coach in the National Hockey League who's won a Stanley Cup. And I'm sure in his own mind, he could take me and 6 of my closest friends and make a hockey team out of them and a winner out of them. Do you understand what I'm saying? I agree. Management did not do anything for him. And ultimately, that probably which led him to fire himself, because essentially that's what he did by making those comments. He knew what was going to happen. But nobody, no coach, no player wants to admit that they can't do it. They can't do their job. And that's essentially what, even if you're given the worst lump of clay to work with, you as a professional still think you can succeed with that. But now over a course of time, when you make progress and then management pulls players away from you and says, okay, well, good job, but I'm taking this guy. We're going to trade him for a first-round draft pick. You're like, oh, okay, I understand why. Then we redirect and we go a different way and we make more progress. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take Scott Lawton away from you because it's time for him to move on. And I know you're not having a good year this year, but now it's going to get even worse because I'm taking him away. It just gets frustrating after a while. And you start like saying, okay. And again, I'm not letting management off of this. Of course, I'm not letting the management off of this, but it's a two-way street, I guess. John Tortorella obviously was not on board anymore with what the direction of the team was or the direction of the rebuild was, obviously. And I think that's obvious for what he said that night. He was not on board for this anymore. He was starting to lose patience with it for whatever reason. And there's probably 1,000 ones that I'm not even privy to or even talking about. He just wasn't on board for it. And then that just got too much for him. And he made some comments that he probably regrets, but there were comments that he was feeling. What has Breer and Jones done since they both have been running the Flyers? And what was Comcast done? Mike, you're right. But I'm going to tell you what they've done. They've put the Flyers in a position starting in this summer with the 12 draft picks they have, 7 of them in the first 2 rounds, the cap room that is starting to clear up. They have put the team in a position. Listen, Mike, I'm I'm not a fan of Danny B or Keith Jones at this point. I'm not. I'm as frustrated as you are probably with them. I am. But what they took over, let's face it, was a lump of crap, both on and off the ice. And there was a lot of work that had to be done, and there's still a lot of work that has to be done to fix it. And it goes deeper than just what's happening on the ice. There was cultural problems inside the front office. There was cultural problems inside the locker rooms. There was issues all over the place. Nobody cared. And then you got to remake all that. Oh, on top of all that, we got to build a hockey team. Oh, on top of all that, you got to find yourself another goalie because your goalie's been charged with sexual assault and he's going back to Canada to go to prison. On top of all that, you got one of your high draft picks is in Russia, and you got to do some backdoor State Department things to get him out of there. I mean, listen, I'm not telling you, and you're right. It doesn't seem like they have not done anything substantial, but they have. And that's coming down the road. Now, what they do with that, and if they make the right moves with the assets they've acquired, which, of course, in history tells us with the Flyers, that doesn't happen all the time, where they have all these assets and they make all the right trades and right draft picks, right signings. I get that. But he has, and they have, set the Flyers on a path to where, hopefully starting this summer, because we need something, man. Flyers fans, the Flyers, the players, management, we need something to happen this year where they start bringing in assets instead of sending them away. Start drafting better. Start getting more day one starters, day one impact players, going out and making trades to bring actually players here, maybe trading some of those 12 draft picks they had this summer and bringing some players here. So, and then with the cap, either signing some players or taking on some contracts through trades. The Flyers do have that setting up right now, and it's going to get better in 26. There's more cap relief coming. I believe Kevin Hayes' contract's off the books next year, and somebody else's contract falls off, and Ryan Ellis's contract finally falls off. So there's more cap room coming. There's more cap relief coming. So that's what they've done. They put them in a position, and that's all you can do right now. And now, starting this summer, it's time to pay. It's time to pay up. So that's what I'm going to say they've done in order to kind of set things up right for the Flyers. So the Flyers fire Tortorella, and then they go into the last two games, one against the Canadiens and one against the Sabres. Now, before I continue any further, I want to tell you that I understand it's the Canadiens and Sabres. It's not the Hurricanes and the Lightning. I get that. It's the Hurricanes, or it's the Canadiens and the Sabres. But for some odd reason, either skating with freedom, the anchor's off, the weights are removed, the restrictions are all over. Bradshaw's a different voice, different type of mentality, a different level, whatever. The Flyers go out and they win the next two games. Now, of course, that is personally what none of us wanted to have happen. And you got to kind of call on the question why they're winning. And I'm not saying the tank, but why fire your head coach who's obviously weighing the team down? Why fire him when you have an opportunity to potentially get a top 3 draft pick? And now you're gonna send this new sense of infused hope into this team. And the Flyers have gone off. And let me go over some of the numbers for you that this team has done over the last 2 games. So since Bradshaw has taken over, the Flyers are 2-0. They've gone 3 for 7 on the power play. That means the Flyers are effectively working the power play at a 42%, almost 43% effective rate. Are you freaking kidding me? 43% effective on the power play? What the, I ain't making it up. They've also killed 3 out of 4 penalties. They've scored 13 goals in 2 games for an average of 6.5 a game. Now they've given up 8 goals per 2 games, which is 4 goals a game, which to me is more closer than the truth than anything else. The 13 goals obviously is a little bit more of a fantasy, but those 8 goals against, that's more of the truth. They've registered 62 shots for 31 a game. They've given up 51 for 25. They've blocked 32 shots for an average of 16 a game. And that's all within the last 2 games, which of course they're 2-0 in. And it makes you wonder, man. It makes you wonder. But yeah, that's the Flyers in a nutshell under the tutelage now of Bradshaw as they continue down down the trail at the end of the season. What is wait, did I already do that one? I already told you that one, right? But yeah. Now, with the Flyers also being said, let's talk about the Flyers. Tomorrow night here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, me and Mike Lara will effectively end our coverage of Flyers hockey, or I should say the network's coverage of Flyers hockey, as we present to you the last Clear the Ice of the season against the Predators. Me and Mike, live at around 10 o'clock. As soon as the Flyers game is over, we'll be on the call. So we're looking forward to that. And then that will be it for the Clear the Ice, but we'll be back in the summer for a season review episode, a draft preview, and a free agency check-in. Sometime right around the end, right before the Stanley Cup Finals ends. Maybe we have a new head coach to talk about at that time. And that's the next thing: is who is the candidates that the Flyers should be looking at to be the new head coach. And there's a couple of names that are being thrown out so far in hockey of what the Flyers should be looking at. And there's definitely some default names. I like to call them default names because they are names that everybody seems to gravitate towards when you're talking about a new head coach. Rick Tocchet seems to be the hot name that everyone's floating around. Now he's got a weird contract in Vancouver that he could get out of at the end of the year, but I don't know if Rick Tocchet, he's a name. I don't know if that's what I like to go. Brad Shaw could potentially be a name. Jay Woodcroft, and then we get into David Carl, which I like because of his work with the junior team, and he obviously knows how to talk to younger players and develop younger players. So I'm liking him. Todd McClellan's a name. Mike Sullivan, that's the default name. Jessica Campbell, who's the assistant coach with the Kraken, her name has been brought up. But the name that I am more interested in, and I think that the Flyers should definitely go this direction. I know Rick Tocchet seems to be the hot name. I'm going to throw out another former Flyer at you. Ian Lapierre, Lappy, the head coach of the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, Phantoms. Here's a guy that's been toiling in your system since 2021. He's a former player. He's also been your head coach of your AHL affiliate for about 5 years now. For the third straight year now, this team, the Phantoms, is on a push for a Calder Cup run in the AHL. They're going to make the playoffs this year for the third straight year. He actually has worked with the majority of the current Flyers that are on this team, that are on the Flyers right now. He's worked with them all. He's obviously working with the future Flyers too. So the mission is not over of what Tortorella was supposed to do. It's still a teaching mission. It's still a developing mission. We are not ready for that step. I know Danny B mentioned the next phase of the rebuild. We're ready for it. I don't see that because we don't have a team, for God's sakes. We got pieces still. So I still think there's more coaching to be done, more teaching to be done. And with the younger prospects, and we talked about this last week on the show, about some prospects that might be on their way here next year, some prospects that either have to sign or become free agents. We talked about that, and there's more prospects coming. Your goaltender, Carson Bjornsson, would potentially be a Flyer next year. So he's going to need tutelage at a lower level. Oliver Bonk could be here next year. Spencer Gill could be here next year. Who's the other one? McPherson could be here. There's a whole bunch of Lochenko, Chernik. There's a whole bunch of young players that are making their way potentially to the Flyers next season. So there's still more teaching to be done. Now, does Lappy still serve a purpose down in the AHL? Yeah, quite possibly, especially for these younger players. But does he serve more of a purpose, in my opinion, at the NHL level, where now he gets to kind of refine what he taught them in the AHL and ratchet it up a notch for the NHL? Not telling you to kind of sign the franchise over to him, 3-year deal, that should set the Flyers up in a position to actually hand off a team to the next guy to take us on the cup run. So I'm going for Lappy, but there's some definite names that are being tossed around out there. Rick Tocchet is the sexier one. I don't know what Tockett's going to do here, honestly. But there you go, folks. So with Torts being fired, how much pressure now is on Jones and Briere to produce and put out? That's a great question. And I definitely think the honeymoon's over. And it's got to be over. It's a great question. As I said, there's no more excuses for this season, right? I mean, it is what it is. But we're coming out of this season with salary cap relief, seventh most cap room in the NHL right now. Probably will go up to 5 once we jettison the Ivan Provorov deal and the Cal Peterson deal at the end of the season. So we'll probably be in the top 5 of most cap room available. 12 draft picks, 4 or 7 in the top 2 rounds. There's no excuses, right? And I think Flyers fans would be in unison by saying this, that we need to start seeing some addition now. We need to see some product on the ice for us now. I think the trading and some names might still get moved this summer, and that's fine. But now we need to start bringing stuff into the nest, into the fold. We need to start bringing. So you're absolutely right. The pressure should be on management this coming season. The pressure should definitely be on them. But once again, it's a step-by-step process, and I hate to use the word process, but it is. I think a playoff position, a playoff berth next year is not out of the realm of possibility. And I think if the Flyers are a competitive team fighting for that playoff berth to the end of next season, you can kind of hang your hat on that and say, okay, there's steps forward. But if we have another year like this, if we have another trade deadline where they're pulling assets away, and you got to start wondering, what is Danny B and Keith Jones doing? I agree with you, Michael. I'm not giving them a pass at all. Not at all. I want Lappy. If not Lappy, I want Rod Brindamore. You're not getting Rod Brindamore, Joe. There's no way he's leaving Carolina. Why would he come here? There's no way. It's going to be a lesser coach that wants a challenge, and I don't think Rod Brindamore wants that challenge, honestly. But Flyers are going to continue on with the rest of the season. I think there's an outside chance now. They're pushing for a playoff. They're still mathematically alive in the playoff race. And they kind of go off of what Joe asked earlier in the show. They did make a move on Friday. They brought in Carson Dorwart. He is the undrafted free agent out of the University of Michigan State. Dorwart never stops moving. One play blends into the other. He protects and wins pucks on the ice, plays the game at a high pace, and he has some stick handling skills, continues to show advanced passing abilities, lobbing pucks above sticks. His pathway, he played in the USHL, did not get drafted on his 18th year, entered the NCAA as a 3-year starter or 3-year one-liner with the Michigan State Spartans. Never got drafted for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if he made himself eligible for drafting. I've been researching his draft situation, but he never got drafted. And at the age now of 22, he decided to sign a contract with the Flyers. He will join the Flyers. He is going right to the Flyers, and I believe he'll be in the lineup tomorrow night in Nashville. So, hey, why not? Why the hell not? I mean, he's a center. We need one of those. But there you go. Carson Dorwart, your new Flyer, undrafted free agent who just finished his college season at Michigan State, is now signed a 2-way contract with the Flyers. So at the very least bit, he'll play out the rest of the season with the Flyers and then be bound for Lehigh Valley next summer or next fall. So there you go. There's my Flyers bit tonight. 43 minutes on the Flyers. God, you guys are killing me now. I got to talk about the Phillies, man. Because it's the other big story in town, right? Philadelphia Phillies season has begun. 2 games, took 2 out of 3 from the Nationals over the weekend. Zach Wheeler in the shadows, battling Mackenzie's Cy Young Gore on Friday or Thursday. Phillies struck out 19 times. Bats came alive in late in the game, and then took it out in extra innings. 7-3 winners. Yesterday, I think they only struck out 5 times. Luzardo looked pretty good in his debut as the Phillies were able to win 11-6. Again, the offense kind of came alive and beat around the Nationals a little bit. Today was not very encouraging, right? Aaron Nola was doing Aaron Nola things today. He pitched well through the first 4 innings. Then he ran into that problem. 2 more home runs today. Basically was all the offense. Well, it was all the offense the Nationals had. And the Phillies mounted absolutely no offense. 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position for the Phillies today. It's just a pitiful attempt. And yeah, there was a lot of flashbacks to last season watching today's game of the Phillies. I'll give you that, because they were running the 2024 Phillies playbook step by step today by not getting runners in. And by Aaronola getting no run support and then giving up the big home runs when he shouldn't. It was so playbook Phillies. And I do want to go over some numbers with you from the weekend because, as I said, I had the final on Thursday, and I'll be back tomorrow on the final actually too. But I had the final on Thursday, and I was very critical of a couple things. Nick Castellanos in the top of the ninth inning, not taking 3-0 with runners on first and second not taking 3-0 with runners on first and second and nobody out. Why aren't you having Nick Castellanos swing in that situation? I don't understand that. And that's a Rob Thompson decision right there, which I don't get. The Trey Turner on the bloop single into left field in the seventh inning on Thursday. Turner gets the ball. Runners now are on first and third, and decides to throw the ball in from left field to third base, allowing the runner to advance to second base. I mean, that's a little league fundamental blunder right there. Now, Turner is out of the lineup the last two games due to back spasms. Rob Thompson says he expects them to play, or he expects him to play tomorrow, along with JT Realmuto, who's been dealing with a foot injury. They should be back in the lineup tomorrow for the home opener against the Rockies. The bullpen does not look good. It's been looking. Jordan Romano came in and had an extremely poor debut as a Philadelphia Philly. He gave up the run there, the tying runs in the ninth inning there to the Nationals. So, there's been some positives to pull from this weekend, and there's been some negatives. So I do want to go over some numbers with you right now. So bear with me. Again, through three games, and I know Al had the final today, and I was able to watch it. I was supposed to be on with him, but I had a game today. Actually, a game popped up last minute that I had to do, so couldn't make the final. But a couple things that I'm concerned about through the first three games of the season, the Phillies have stolen one base, right, and they've allowed 5 bases to be stolen against them. So basically, they're stealing about 0.3 bases a game, and they're giving up they're almost giving up 2 bases a game. That's a concern. All right. The BCIB, where are you at? They gave up 3 stolen bases on opening day. They gave up 2 on Saturday. They didn't give up any today, but that's a concern. That's a concern that the teams are running at will on the Phillies. Home runs. The Phillies have hit 5 home runs through 3 games. Phillies pitching has given up 6 home runs through the first 3 games of the season. That's the rotation and the bullpen. Phillies pitching is giving up 2 home runs a game on average to the first 3 games. That's a concerning number. Phillies pitching has also struck out 39 batters over the first 3 games. That's about a 13 a game. That's amazing. Phillies have struck out 30 times through 3 games. Now that's 10 a game, but of course those 19 strikeouts on game 1. I kind of inflate that. They've only struck out 11 times over the last 2 games. So that's encouraging the other way. But still, Phillies have also, this is another encouraging one. Phillies as a team have induced 18 walks, 6 a game against Nationals pitching. 18 walks. Now, that's a really positive sign that they're actually more patient at the plate, and it's paying off. So 18 walks. Then the last number I'll go over is my favorite. First of many times I'll say this. RISP. Now, heading into today's game, the Phillies were 8 for 23 with runners in scoring position, a 347 batting average with runners in scoring position. After today's 0 for 9, they are now 8 for 32, and that average is down to 250. So we were riding high one day, and then we're back in the basement the next day. So that 0 for 9. You're never, ever going to be able to talk me into a Major League Baseball team going 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. That's just, to me, I know, again, I'm going to go back to the generation thing. Growing up, if I was ever on a baseball team that went 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position, we'd be doing some extra laps. We'd be running around that park that night, trying to explain to our coach while running why we couldn't drive in one runner while we had 9 of them in scoring position. That's a problem with this team that's been systematic, not since Rob Thompson, before Rob Thompson, with Kapler, with Girardi, and it's carried over with Thompson that that it's okay to go 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Now, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what the accountability is. Don't know what the repercussions, but as what we've kind of think Rob Thompson is, He doesn't hold anybody accountable, and there's no repercussions because you can never explain to me why a Major League Baseball team goes 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. It's pitiful, it's terrible, it's unprofessional, and it's a joke. And it needs to change. 0 for friggin' 9, and you're a Major League Baseball team. The law of averages states you'll do better than that. You can't get one of them in. 0 for friggin' 9. And that went a big way for why the Phillies lost today. So 2-1, heading home against the Colorado Rockies. And we got you covered here on the network because starting tomorrow, where is it? There it is. Here we go. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. That's right. So again, there's my double post game tomorrow, 6 o'clock, or after the Rockies home opener against the Phillies. I will be, or the Phillies home opener against the Rockies. Sorry, I got you for the Titans final, and I also got you on Clear the Ice later on tomorrow night. Sal will be here on Wednesday, and then I will finish you up on Thursday for the Phillies Rockies. So busy week on the network as we progress through, and you guys are blowing this thing up. This kid sounds like a project, but Philly teams, yeah, he is. Carson Dorwat is a project. He absolutely is. But that's what we do. Fams keep on winning. Yep, and they're pushing for a Calder Cup run. I noticed the trend, and it'll be all aces suck today. All aces suck today? Are you saying Noel's our ace? Noel's not our ace. I was confused on Kepler not playing and having Marsh take a spot left field. Me too. I know we've played 2 games. Is he tired? I don't know. I don't know. I know he's got to work his bench in, but you're right. I don't see why Kepler was on the bench. You're right, Mike. And I'm sure it's the first of about a bazillion things we're going to. Maybe I should keep a list of things that befuddle me about Rob Thompson. Maybe that's what I should do. Starting, we can backtrack to game 1. Why Castellanos wasn't given a green light, 3-0 with runners on first and second, nobody out in the 9th. Why Kepler was on the bench, and why, maybe I should start keeping a log of all the things that befuddle us about Rob Thompson this year. Thoughts on McMahon, Marchand? Listen, nobody stole any bases off of him. So you got to give him that. I like Rafael Marchand. If just for the fact that I didn't like Stubbs. All right. I just did not like Garrett Stubbs. I thought Garrett Stubbs brought absolutely nothing baseball related to the table. And I know we did the Down the Farm segment on the Fight and Smile. I know Al did it. And I believe Peyton Henry, who is a journeyman cast-off guy, is floating around the last 9 years. Didn't make it, hasn't made it, up and down with different teams in the majors. He actually had himself a hell of a game on the Iron Pigs opening day. 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 3 hits. I mean, and that's the backup to Garrett Stubbs. So, yeah, you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know, man. But also another side note, by the way, we have a former Philly coming to see us tomorrow, right? Yeah, Mickey Moniak. Mickey Moniak, who was DFA'd by the Angels coming out of spring training, was picked up by the Rockies. And I got to look, but I think he's on their major league roster. And I think he's on his way to Philadelphia. I was looking to see where Scott Kingerly landed, but apparently he cleared waivers and went right back down to AAA with the Angels. So, but Mickey Moniak is on his way to Philadelphia with the Rockies tomorrow. So, hide the women and children. But no, I like Marchand. I do. And I think he's the option. And I honestly think he's going to be an option next season too. $20 million for JT. That's, we're paying him $20 million a year. I think his AAV is $20 million. I mean, we could take that money and spend it a couple different ways. I'm down with keeping Marchand until Tait's ready. So yeah, I would like to have him starting every game. Yeah, I really would. You rotate Schwarber and JT out of the lineup for DH and start Marchand every game. Why not? Why not? There's no accountability in the Phillies' line. That seems to be the popular opinion, Mike. And 0 for 9. Again, no one's going to ever share this with me. No one's ever going to like, oh yeah, hey MattyB, this is what they did. But I would like to know what the penalty is or the repercussion of you going 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Because if it was me And if it was John Tortorella, we'd be throwing coolers all over. We'd be Billy Beaning the hell out of that locker room tonight. 0 for 9. You're telling me you couldn't drive in one friggin' runner in scoring position? I'm not asking you to go 9 for 9. Hell, I'm only asking you to go 1 for 9. And you couldn't even do that? It's pathetic, man. It's pathetic. And no, it's not baseball. That's bad baseball. Well, it is baseball, but it's bad baseball. You can't explain that to me. You can't wish that away. Here's a befuddled question. Why is Robbie still managing the Phillies? Yeah. Mike, you know what? Maybe you get your wish this year, man. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Oh, so Moniak is on the roster. So Mickey Moniak coming back to Philadelphia. I know he was back last year when the Angels were here, but it's always good to see old Mickey Moniak, right? Former first overall pick, 2016 draft. Mm-hmm. All right. So the Phillies, 2-1. You know, it's okay. We started the season off last year 1-2. So, you know, I'm okay with 2-1. And then the year before that, we were 0-3. So, hey, they won a series, right? They won the first series. They won 10 series last season. They already got the first one under their belts. You look at tomorrow, home opener. The weather's supposed to be better, I heard the weather's going to not be bad. Have an opportunity, get in front of the home crowds, unveil the 2024 NL East Championship flag, you know, string that up out there in the outfield, salute it, and let's get to work. But home opener, man, special day. It's a special day on a Monday afternoon. And again, don't forget, we got you here on the Fighting's Final after the action. 100% he does. I was going to put him in as my player of the week for the Iron Pigs. I keep wanting to say fans, but for the Iron Pigs, but actually Peyton Henry had a better slash line for one game, but it's going to be hard. The Phillies are going to make a decision in probably about 6 weeks about Justin Crawford. They're going to have to make a decision. And if it means sending Johan Rojas down, or if it means DFA and Brandon Marsh, or sending him down, because he has all his options, I think. I got to look on that. But I think it's an easy question to answer. And I said this at the beginning of the season. I really do think one, if not two, or maybe even three of these prospect players are going to have a lot to say on the success or failure of the Phillies this year. Mark my word. I really believe that. But Phillies 2-1, come home opener tomorrow at 3:00 at the bank. And right here afterwards, we got you covered with the Fighting's Final. On to the of the night segments. All right, just as the title says, the of the night segments, when we take a look at some players, some future players, spotlight players, all them good things. Let's get it going. Here we go. We're going to start with baseball. Your MLB draft prospect of the night is Max Bellew, outfielder of the Texas Longhorns, one of the best all-around offensive players in college. Crop Bellew hits for average and power while controlling the strike zone and making consistent hard contact. He has a quick left-handed swing, geared for line drives, showing the ability to pull pitches for home runs or backspin them out of the park to the opposite field. He has the ability to put the bat on the ball and cuts his walk totals a bit. And as he struggled against non-fastballs last summer with the U.S. Collegiate National Team in the Cape Cod League after crushing them during the spring. Max Bellew is a top 3 prospect in this draft. He probably will go no lower than 5. He is, I guess he's the Charlie Condren of last season. He's sort of the comp to him, the kid from Georgia. I definitely think he is a top 5 prospect. Will not even sniff him by the time the Phillies get around to selecting. He's definitely the real deal, and interested to see how high he goes. But I'm a big fan of Max. Again, you guys can go and watch all this stuff on all these players, on all the players we've talked about and that we will talk about until we get to draft night. ESPN Plus, and I hate to give him a free plug, but if you get ESPN Plus, you can watch college baseball all day, every day, all kinds of games. I mean, I'm sitting around the other day watching, Villanova play. And I was actually watching Villanova in the Super Regionals last year when they made the tournament. So don't take my word for it. Pop on your ESPN Plus, which I think is pretty much standard with everyone's streaming services these days if you're got a Disney package. And check out these games, man. And check out some of these prospects. Obviously, it's going to be hard to see Ethan Holiday play because he's in high school, but players like Max, they're in college. You can watch them whenever Texas plays. So go ahead and give it a listen and a watch because you won't be disappointed. But there you go. There's our college prospect of the night, and our other one was Carson Dorwart. We're not going to do him again, but so we've gotten through our of the night segment. It was just a one for, I guess, tonight. Went from a trifecta to a one for our of the night segment. And then it says Marsh does have options left. Good. It's good to know, actually. My player of the week and every week will be a non-player. It's Dombrowski until he fires Robbie. Of course it will. When is the MLB draft? It is always the Saturday, Sunday. It's part of MLB. It's part of the All-Star festivities. It's the Sunday before the All-Star game. So it used to be in late June or mid-June, but they moved it. It's part of the All-Star festivities now. It's that Sunday. What the All-Star game's on a Tuesday, correct? It's the Sunday right before the All-Star break. Or the Saturday. It's that weekend right before the All-Star break. And it's held at the city that's hosting the All-Star game. And I want to say this year it's in Atlanta. Is that where the All-Star game is? I don't know. It's Atlanta. But yeah, it's right during the All-Star break. It's part of their All-Star break festivities. They a couple of years ago they moved it into that. I still was a fan of it in mid-June, but they moved it to the All-Star break. So hope that answers your question, Joe. And that's going to take me to my favorite part of the night, baby. Yes, sir. It's MattyB's card review. Before we get on with MattyB's card review, just a little update on the old MattyB card front. Today was a very lucrative day in the MattyB card world. I sold 2 cards today for a total of about $140. I sold a prospects card of Nikita Kucherov, of him in the Syracuse Crunch for $100, and I sold a Aaron Judge Topps rookie Chrome for about $40. So a big day financially for me on the card front as I moved to 2 assets today myself. So keep them coming, folks. Start buying cards for me, man. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. But that leads us to tonight's card. It is a card of an all-timer, one of the best players at his position ever to play the game. I don't know how people really have a personal. I never really heard anything negative about this guy throughout my time watching him, but he was an icon to me, even though he never played a game for the Phillies. But he's definitely a face of a generation of baseball, and that was in the 80s. Best shortstop, I don't know. Is he the best shortstop? I guess it's not Ozzie Smith, by the way. It's the other best shortstop, I guess, depending on what side of the coin you come on. And we're going to talk about his 1991 Donruss, and I'm talking of the Hall of Famer, all-time Baltimore Oriole, Mr. Cal Ripken Jr., Iron Man himself. This is his 91 Donruss card on most databases. This card ranges all over the place. I've seen it at $1, and I've also seen it as a PSA 10 at $50. And this is really no rhyme or reason to this card. It's the 91. There's nothing, it's about how many years into his career at this point? We're about 10. We're about 10 years into his career at this point. This is his all-star card from the 91 Donruss set. He has a regular player card also in that set, but this is his all-star card, as you can see, by the very basic design. I know we've been running a lot of 91 Donruss. I've been throwing a lot of them at you lately. Very basic set, basic design. Those little colored marks on the sides of these cards are actually, it's funny. By the types of colored marks you have on the sides of these cards depict the value of a card. So with a different color scheme on the sides, card could be a lot more money. It's weird how it's like that. But this card in itself, as I said, I've seen it anywhere between $1 and $40 on depending on what databases you look at. I look at about 3 of them. And what can I say about the player? 19-time All-Star, World Series champion in '83, two-time AL MVP, was the AL Rookie of the Year, two-time Gold Glove winner, which is interesting. He's only won the Gold Glove twice, 8-time Silver Slugger winner, won the Roberto Clemente Award. Of course, the Iron Man, most consecutive games played. His number 8 is retired by the Baltimore Orioles. He is enshrined in the Baltimore Oriole Hall of Fame, and he, of course, is enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He was inducted in 2007, received 98.5% of the vote, which is 2% higher than Mike Schmidt got, and he is also part of the Major League Baseball's All-Century Team, 20th Century. What can you say about him? He's also a businessman, philanthropist, owns about 6 different baseball teams now. Really, and he's stayed around the Baltimore and Maryland area, has really infused a lot of money into that community, especially in Aberdeen and areas like that. And there you have it. Tonight's card of the night, 91 Dunross, Cal Ripken Jr., and here it is in its physical form. I think I got a PSA 9 or 10. I think I do. I gotta send some of these cards off and get them graded, but there it is. There it is in its physical form. And that was it. Tonight's card of the night. Cal Ripken friggin' Jr., man. One of those all-time player cards. Yep, Atlanta is hosting it. Yeah, I knew it was Atlanta, which is funny, Joe, because isn't it typical that it goes now last year was in Texas, so this year it should be in Atlanta or nationally, but next year it's here, right? It's in Philly. So we're going American League, nationally. I thought it's supposed to rotate. Now, I know Atlanta, I don't think they were originally supposed to host it this year. When didn't they lose it because they weren't politically correct at one point earlier, like 2021 or something like that? But yeah, Atlanta is hosting the All-Star game. And that is going to take me to the end of the show. But let me remind folks about what I said at the very beginning of this, like an hour ago, that we have a bunch of new shows that we're talking about. And they all start, this one starts this week, the Attacking Third. If you're looking for union coverage, if you're looking for MLS coverage, then you've come to the right place. The Attacking Third with Pat Bernard and Steve Fuentes makes its debut here on this network on Thursday night at 9 p.m. It'll be a staple on Thursday nights at 9, and it debuts this week on the network, as well as Pat Bernard taking over semi-permanent duties for Sal G, as he's going to be the new host of the Wraparound starting Sunday at 9 a.m. Now, we were going to originally move it to Wednesdays at 6. Pat can't do that. So we're going to put it on at Sundays at 9 a.m. until May 4th. So starting next Sunday, you're going to be able to see Pat Bernard hosting the Wraparound at Sundays at 9 until May 4th. Now on May 4th, the PNM and the AM show will return to the airwaves and comes to the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Pat and Mike will be back to give you their brand of Sunday mornings, the only way they can give you. So that's going to be fun. Now, what we're going to do with the Wraparound is we're going to move the Wraparound to Saturdays at 9. So we're going to take the Wraparound. That'll be on Sundays at 9 until May 4th, and then we're going to move it to Saturdays. So there you go. Busy time on the network. And I want to thank everybody out there for their continued support, and welcome back Pat Bernard, Steve Fuentes. Welcome them back to the family. They're EOP friends, and there's a reason why I am reassembling a lot of the old EOP cast. There's a reason around that, because if it ain't fixed, sorry, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's about time to bring the band back together. So we're going to start doing that in hyperdrive starting this week on the network. So and then we got all the post game coverage this week as well. So busy week on the network. I'll be back tomorrow for the Jay says, yeah, welcome back. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be back tomorrow for 2 post game shows. I'll be back for the Fightins final at 6, or right after the Phillies game, and then Clear the Ice with Mike Laro at around 10 o'clock or whenever the Flyers game ends. And Barbara, yeah, you called me, Barbara, but I'm about ready to wrap it up. Sorry, man, Barbara, you gotta be here for the shows, man. It's not the same without you. So tomorrow night, actually no, Tuesday night, I'll be back, Barbara. So I'll be back Tuesday night for the final word. Tomorrow night, you can catch me on the Fightins final and on the Clear the Ice. So Busy week on the program, busy week on the network. Barbara, go back and rewatch this episode so you can see all the great announcements that we're making and all the great things that are happening to the It's a Wrap Sports Network over the next few weeks. Real quick, thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Busy weekend here in the city. Busy weekend on our sports teams. Flyers are back at it. It is what it is. Twitterell is gone. We've spent almost an hour discussing why I think happened and why I think he got fired. Thank you, Michael. And thank you for chiming in. Please, Barbara, do. But it doesn't replace you being here live because that's what really matters. So 10 o'clock, Barbara, Sundays through Thursdays, if I don't have post-game obligations. 10 o'clock. Joe says, I agree. Thank you, Joe. So a lot of Flyers talk. Obviously, there's some Phillies talk, some trends that are positive, some trends that are not so much positive. But 2-1 to start the season. Home opener tomorrow. Rockies, Dodgers, Braves. Interesting way to break in the season here with the Dodgers and Braves back-to-back. So we're going to see how that is very soon, how this team can respond to that. And of the night segment, and then all the other great stuff that we talked about. Me too, Barbara. Honestly, I could feel it too. So until we talk again later on Tuesday, you guys have a great rest of your night and an even better tomorrow.